Good morning. The title for this video is Institutions of Higher Lying. Yesterday I watched and listened to the final speech of Nicolae Ceausescu, Romania's former dictator, president. I also listened to a speech by John Pilger from only a few days ago. The video by Dave Schmidt, live from Hong Kong, was also on my viewing list. Sandwiched between two speeches pretending that money is the answer to our problems was the speech exposing institutions of higher lying. Pilger, an honest journalist, was exposing one such institution, the mainstream media. In this video, I will mention others. You see, unlike others who are easily duped, I have come to see how the game is played, and whether you like to hear it or not, it's all deception. No amount of money thrown at us will liberate us from our enslavement as long as the institutions of higher lying are able to continue getting away with their fraud, disempowering humanity with illusory promises of wealth. Ceausescu, his final speech was recommended to me by the ambassador, who, as far as I can determine at this hour, is still not in Hong Kong. There have been monkey wrenches thrown into the thing, and delays have occurred on top of delays. And as far as I know, Dave Schmidt is in Hong Kong, but the ambassador is not. And I've been waiting for the ambassador to get to Hong Kong to film our next, to record our next video or videos. I can't tell you when that's going to happen. I don't know. I do know this. Ceausescu, in his final speech, was placating the masses of people, the hundreds of thousands of people in the square who were cheering him as he promised to give increases in the monthly stipends to be received by the citizens of that nation of Romania. There was a little bit of confusion at the early part of his speech, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. But then the speech was able to continue, and there were all the cheers of the people as he promised to increase their monthly wage or stipend or whatever you want to call it from 2,000 to 2,200, whatever the unit is. And other increases were also mentioned, and the people cheered. And Dave Schmidt was also a part of the cheerleading team in the modern day, sitting there in Hong Kong on top of the hotel, telling us that we're all going to be millionaires and that money's going to start getting distributed. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. He honestly told us. That's the truth. It is a process. It's not going to be delivered all at once. But the theme was, we're going to be rich, folks. We're going to be rich. And I want to tell you point blank, money does not make anybody rich. Money is an illusion. It's actually a delusion. It's actually a form of imprisonment. As long as debt money is allowed to continue, as long as debt is allowed to stay on the records, and by debt, I'm not talking about a contract between two human beings made in an agreement with each other. I'm talking about corporate debt. All corporate debt is fraud because corporations, one of the institutions of higher lying, corporations are fraudulent. On their very face, they are fraudulent. And any contract they make under real law, I'm talking about real common law and natural law, any contract formed under the Uniform Commercial Code or under the current system of operating financial systems, it's all null and void, it's all fraud, it's all deception. No amount, as I said, of money thrown at us is going to liberate humanity from the deception and from the imprisonment and disempowerment of the system as we have known it. I don't care if you're talking about government as one of the institutions of higher lying. I don't care if you're talking about educational facilities like colleges and universities and even grammar schools and high schools or secondary schools. I don't care what level you're talking about in the education system. It's an institution of higher lying. They don't tell the truth. You might even be talking about hospitals and centers for research and the Centers for Disease Control. It's all lies, folks. The whole thing is lies. They build up this edifice, these massive cities and these massive buildings and these. I mean, Merck Pharmaceutical used to be my largest customer when I lived in New Jersey over 20 years ago. Over 30 years ago. What am I talking about? Yeah, 1980s. And it was like a city unto itself. And what were they doing? They were making medicines. But were they? Medicines are lies. Another institution of higher lying. The pharmaceutical industry. The energy industries. The media industries. The entertainment industries. The government agencies. All of it, folks. They're all institutions of higher lying. They do not tell us the truth. They will not liberate us. And as long as we continue to allow judges to operate under maritime law, canon law, as I said in the previous video, is a lie. Humpty Dumpty, the canon law, I'm using Humpty Dumpty to represent the canon law. Humpty Dumpty has to fall and break. And the king's horses and the king's men, if they're able to put Humpty together again, it will be more slavery, more deception, more control, more lies. Folks, there are visionaries like John Pilger, like the ambassador, like myself, and many, 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 many others. Max E. I mean, I could go on and name people that are trying to get your attention and trying to tell you the truth. But I watched as Ceausescu gave his speech, how the masses erupted with praise and applause and cheers at being told they were going to get more money. And Ms. Schmidt did not have an audience. But he thinks that if the family hands out money and makes him and others millionaires, that's going to empower people. No, it won't. No, it won't. Not if the system remains the same. Not if the family continues to fund our maritime courts and our mainstream media and our government institutions without requiring accountability, without requiring honesty. As long as corporations are allowed to still exist and operate with limited liability or no liability, as long as our leaders, so-called, or our rulers, more accurately called, or jailers, even more accurately called, as long as they're able to get away with murder and theft with impunity and not be held accountable and not be brought to justice, as long as that continues, we're still enslaved by institutions of higher lying. People don't like to hear this, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. We have been weaned. No, that's the wrong word. We have been indoctrinated and brainwashed in a world system for a very long time And as I've said before, there's an awful lot of cognitive dissonance. We don't want to own the fact that people, our leaders, have not told us the truth. We don't like to own the fact that even our religious institutions, perhaps especially our religious institutions, have lied to us. If the media had been truthful all along, the wars that we've experienced all through the 20th century and into the current day and age, they would not have occurred, because wars are a mechanism of control. Wars are a mechanism of divide and conquer. Wars are a mechanism of deception. The same banksters, the same criminal operation, the same criminal cabal, and I don't care whether it's east or west, the same criminal cabal finances all of the good and evil, and when you mix good and evil, you end up with evil. That's just the way it is. You don't end up with freedom. You don't end up with anything but more and more deception and more human enslavement. It's all an extortion racket from the beginning, and until and unless we can lay the axe to the root of the problem, we will not experience jubilee. We will not experience real freedom. We will not experience what it's like to really celebrate. Ceausescu was taken out right after that last speech. He was given a quick trial, and he and his wife were both executed. Here's the man riding high, thinking that he's now handing out all these toys and all these trinkets to people, and money, of course, is what I'm talking about. Not really trinkets, not really toys, but the money to buy things. He's handing this all out, and he's thinking he's high on the hog. But then he's dead, executed, not just died, but executed with his wife within days or weeks after that final speech, given in December, whatever year it was, 89, I think it was. Folks, I'd like you to see. I'd like you to feel. I'd like you to hear. I'd like you to realize the world that we live in. Because until we own the world that we live in and acknowledge it for what it is, all of its deception, all of its cruelty, all of its subtleties that aren't so subtle anymore, are they? Until we recognize and own that, we're not going to be able to have the transformation, the enlightenment that so many of us seek. We have to get past the lies. We have to get through them. And we have to allow ourselves to transform by telling ourselves the truth. I know it's like a broken record. I know I've been saying it over and over and over again. The ambassador is frustrated. When he and I talk, we see the bullshit. We see what's going on. I know the calls that he gets from people thinking that if only I can get money, if only I can get money, everything's going to be okay. Folks, that's not where it's at. There's much, much more to it than that. And I want you to understand that. I don't know how much longer, quite honestly, I'm going to be able to live. Sometimes recently, in recent days, I've had the sense that my death could be imminent. I still feel fine. I don't feel sick. But I had that little bout with what might have been a mini stroke. And I realized the fragility of life. And I realized that there are technologies that are capable of creating heart attacks and strokes and even cancer. It's all lies, I know that. It's all lies. But the truth is, I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to get your attention and having even my best friends not get it and not be willing to realize that we have to take responsibility for the world we live in. Not this denial, this thing that so many of the New Age people like Neil and others try to jump up to, as if they can live beyond duality and not acknowledge the house of cards that we live in. Yes, it's a house of cards. Yes, it's castles in the sand, built on the shore, waiting for the high tide to wash them out. It's the reality, though, that we experience. And until we own that reality and deal with it, we're not going to be able to create the new world that so many of us feel in our being and want to experience in our lives. I thank you for listening. I thank you for your prayers and your support. And I pray and support people that I know that are also being challenged. But I can only do what I can do. And I can't make you see. And I can't make anybody act. Because this has to come from you. All I can do is tell you the truth to the best of my ability, which is what I'm doing. We have to transcend these institutions of higher lying and get them onto the solid ground of telling the truth. Short of that, there's only more slavery ahead, no matter how much money is thrown at us. Thank you for listening. Namaste.